This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
After 2 weeks of coming up short, Courtniemi finally grabbed his first win of the season at Belle Isle. His performance easily launched him far ahead of his rivals in the points. While we've come back to a more regular Grand Prix venue, it's also more of a modern one that the Lotus wouldn't have seen in its heyday. Let's see how the drivers adapt to it as we get ready to watch round 4 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series. And we'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Samuel Ryman. Behind the scenes is our director, Zach Johnson, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Silverstone is nothing like it was in the '67 British Grand Prix, so let's head to our track guide to see what it's like in 2021. Welcome to Silverstone. Most famously known for being the first circuit to host a round of Formula One, this place has since become synonymous with British motorsports. Hosting everything from sports cars to touring cars to open wheels and even motorcycles, it's a track that fits a wide variety of vehicles. With 3 different layouts to choose from, you've got a little something for any level of racing. The longest of those layouts boasts 18 turns along 3.19 miles. That comes out to 5.13 kilometers in metrics, so it can take a bit to get around it, even in higher-powered machinery. Its main characteristics are the high-speed straights and corners and general lack of elevation change. Its most famous set of turns is most definitely the Maggots-Beckett sequence, in which anything with high downforce finds itself challenged with the rapid changes of direction. However, don't discount the first couple corners in this latest iteration of the track. Abbey and Farm often require a greatly balanced car and some serious bravery if you're side by side. Corners such as Village, Brooklyn, Stowe, and Vale see the majority of overtaking action, but in cars with less horsepower, expect the draft to offer other opportunities. The Hangar Straight is perhaps the most notorious for draft battles to erupt. All in all, this versatile racetrack located just northwest of London provides both history in its roots and action on the tarmac. The huge number of British fans that typically attend events are seldom left wanting. Well, Sam, this is a place that I'm sure is very special to a lot of British fans. So why don't you talk us about how it's going to interact with these Lotus 49 cars?
Yeah, thank you, Joe. Well, we'll find out is the honest answer. As you mentioned, this isn't the typical configuration of Silverstone that we usually bring the historic race cars to on iRacing, because we do have the older layouts available to us. This obviously is a modern configuration of a Silverstone circuit. It has been for about 10 years or so now, I think a little bit more than that. 18 turns, 3.2 miles, 5.1 kilometers, and you can see they start kind of towards the bottom right corner of your track map there, and then work our way to the center, and then work our way around the circuit clockwise. So the drivers are going to be thrown into a whole series of twists and turns right from the get-go, from a standing start with a 37-car single split field here. So it's going to be very interesting, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's a little bit chaotic on the opening lap. But once we do get up and running, we got some nice straights there. The Wellington Straight, of course, a run down into Copse Corner on the old front straight, and the Hangar Straight, where there are definitely some good passing zones around here. And we'll wait and see. It's definitely going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And it's also been kind of interesting with the championship, missing some of the faster drivers this season. And that's not to say that Topi Korteniemi is not a faster driver, because he is leading the way by some margin and has been close to victory up until finally he cracked that nut at Detroit. Ben Zocco hasn't really had the results we're used to seeing from him, as Toga Hisada sits in third. Has certainly been a bit of a surprise, but he's been quite consistent so far. Ove Trangrade and Rob Olenek rounding out your top five. Rob, the current champion that probably wants to maybe finish a little bit higher up here as it goes on. Also have an F2 championship. Sam, how's the amateurs doing?
Well, let's take a look, as we're still early in the season, remember, but you can see David Rossi has a pretty healthy lead, actually, there. Pretty much double the points of the rest of the competition, but then we have a heck of a battle going on from second on down. Steve Hogan, Chris Henkler, Robin Brumer, and Eugenio Massa, and a bunch of different nations there represented as well, which we'll get to the Nations Cup in just a moment. But just remember, these drivers are in the same race as the F1 drivers. They just have lower I ratings, and it gives them a bit of an incentive to perform in the midfield.
Indeed. And yeah, the Nations Cup is quite fascinating itself, because the first two rounds had British drivers winning. And because of that, United Kingdom currently leads that Nations Cup. And it is Finland, of course, with the win last week, closing in to within 13 points. Norway being represented mainly by Ove Trangrade. The United States and Australia rounding out your top five. Norway and U.S. really locked in a tight battle currently. Sam, for today's event, what are the drivers going to be up against?
Well, we already mentioned they're going to be up against this twisty circuit, and they're going to have to do 16 laps of it for round number 4 of a 12-round season. Doesn't look that large from here on the aerial shot, but trust me, it is actually quite a lengthy ways around. To give you proof of that, we're currently 4 minutes into the qualifying session, and there aren't any times posted yet, because everyone's still finishing up their first time lap after running their out lap. Open setup. This is an official series. It's one of the higher end official series, so the driving quality tends to be quite good, and no spare car, no free repairs. If you break it, you board it, and these cars can be quite fragile, so don't break it.
Absolutely. And yeah, you mentioned the lap times. That kind of surprised me too, just how long it took in this car, which is pretty quick in a straight line. This track known for having a lot of high-speed portions, but it's twisty, and it's used to modern F1 cars with downforces. Topi Kortaniemi takes the provisional pole of first few times, now getting onto the board finally. Ove Trangrade within about half a second up from him, and Rob Olenek up to third. That looks a little bit more like what you're used to seeing from the number one car, as we wait for just about half the field still to set that first time. The other problem with this being a modern Grand Prix course, though, Sam, is, well, it's got a lot of paved runoff. So I wonder if we're going to see a few drivers fail to set a time just due to the nature of iRacing's qualifying system.
Yeah, that's a possibility. And yeah, so these lap times clicking in at over 2 minutes. But also look at the spread. I mean, normally in series such as this, we're bragging about how close, that the front of the field is, how excited we are to see a good race. And I'm sure we're still going to get one because there's lots of big names up front there. But you only have to go down to 9th place and you're looking at 2 seconds off the pace. It's showing you demonstration there of just how tricky this circuit is. And if we follow Rob Olenek around here as he comes through Cops Corner, we're about to, of course, run up to the infamous Maggots and Beckett's complex, and we'll get an idea of what it's like on board here. Because, oh no, we're not, because he's bringing it to a halt. But you can imagine coming up to Maggots and Beckett's, which is what Topi Kortaniemi is finishing right now. That's not going to be easy in this car. Left, right, all those directional changes in the car that really doesn't want to go in any sort of direction whatsoever. At a very high speed, and I think that complex, that area of a circuit could be interesting to watch today.
That certainly could cause some problems, especially trying to slow those things down as the car is attempting to turn. Kortaniemi, for his second lap around, he's already got it by half a second over anybody else. Can he extend it farther? No, he is 0.2 slower that time by. Trangrade improves, but he still doesn't take the pole. And Olenek is still, actually, we saw him slow down, so this second lap isn't going to count for him. He's actually just been overtaken by Tixier, who moves onto the inside of the front row. Hovdal doesn't improve, so he'll stay in 5th.
Yeah, I'm watching, well, actually, the car I'm watching is on the outlaps, disregard that. But you can see we're on the final minute of qualifying right now. We've had 27 of our 37 cars turn a lap so far. I think that'll be enough track right there.
No doubt. And David Presley is going to be the next one to cross. He's currently 15th. We're missing about 10 of them, I think, to set a lap time. A 2:04.2 is going to be a little jump up for Presley, but he doesn't find a position. Spitzmuller goes into 16th after his second lap. Trying to see if we're still going to get anybody to set a time. Colin Bentley has started his lap too late, and it looks like Michael Miller will not get back around in time. So, yeah, I think that might be it in terms of everybody able to set a lap time. No, I take that back. Visto is going to get across here in just a second. Let's see if he can go higher than 22nd position. 2:05.8 is another leap up in time, but not in position, unfortunately. So I think that sets it. Our grid order is finished. Let's go through that starting order here today. And as we mentioned, Topi Kortaniemi is on the pole. Then behind him, it is Ove Trangrade, as Sebastian Tixier will start from 3rd. Rob Olenek, P4, with Matthias Hovdal in 5th. And it's Mikko Mekala in P6. Bill Tyler starts 7th, and David Rossi in the 8th position. John Olsen is on the inside of row 5 with Ian Haycox to his outside.
Robert Plumley will be starting from 11th place ahead of Billy Bob Wright starting 12th. Nolan Smith, the number 35 on his car by nice, qualifying the 13th ahead of Jairi Wickstrom. David Presley will be starting 15th ahead of Richard Spretzbuehler. Richard Yarland will be starting 17th ahead of Miro Hazaski in 18th place and Lars Olsen. And Michael Grissinger will be rounding out your top 20.
Matthew Maudsley starts from 21st as Hideki Koivisto will be 22nd. P23 goes to Steve O'Malley. You've got Andrew Ang to his outside. Don Good starts in the quarter century mark. Andrea Juteau in 26th. Sandro Scary will be in the 27th. Tom Doy in 28th. Last driver to set a time. Then it's Sanchez 29th and Bentley 30th. Everybody from here on down have no lap times. So it's Broomer, Alexander, Miller, Holland, Weir, Reynolds, and Luca to complete your 37 car field here today. Hope the drivers are ready for a lot of action with just how many we have taking to the start. In fact, we only need a couple more of them to plop themselves on the grid, and we should be good to go. And you can see they go all the way around through club here for the standing start. That cannot be fun for those at the very back of the grid. And about 10 more seconds, we are out of time for anybody to grid up. So I believe we're going to get a number of them starting from pit lane. I don't blame them, hoping to maybe potentially avoid a bit of chaos. And it looks like the engines are starting to rev as the lights are up. Green flag is out, and Courtiniemi is off the line in a horrendous way. Ove Trangrade, who's inside. We've got a big wreck in the back in the midfield, so everybody behind having to take avoiding action. We'll get back to that in a little bit. But up at the front, Courtiniemi recovers in the second phase. Now it's a battle for second between Trangrade and Tixier down into Village. The battle continues as it switches back and forth. Tixier now on the outside, being threatened by Olenek in a spin. Olenek gets held up by Trangrade, and cars have to scatter for the second time.
Wow, so chaos in the middle of the field at the start, and then chaos at the front of the field coming through the section there. That's part of a new portion of the Silverstone circuit that we said was twisty, we said was going to be chaotic, and you can see what it's done to the front of the field. So what happened at the start there? Robert Plumley from 11th place, his car wandered over the circuit, he got a lot of wheel spin, and he came across into Billy Bob Wright, who was starting alongside him in 12th, and they got a heck of a start. The two cars came onto the same piece of tarmac together. It just happened that way, and as a result there were a lot of cars flipping.
So Havdahl now gets promoted into second. John Olsen into third. By all of that, I see at least 8 or 9 drivers that are sitting in pit lane having to take a tow from the early incidents here, as you see Topi Courtiniemi leading.
Yeah, we got trouble down in Cops right now, but it's a bit further on down the order with Robin Broomer and another car involved. You'll see that green car going by there is Maurice Luke. He's missing the whole front clip of his car.
Yeah, it was Seb Alexander was the other one who unfortunately, I think, had a separate off and just spun off into Cops. There you see Luca on your screen. And these cars don't necessarily need a whole lot of aerodynamics, but it's certainly not going to make life fun, and he does look a little slow compared to those around him. Yeah, we've heard a lot of the drivers talk, Sam, about the difficulty in doing starts now. That's why we've been seeing some not have the greatest of runs off the line, but that was on a whole nother level.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll get a replay of it. Shout out to 2 of our big movers who have taken advantage of that. John Olsen starting 9th and up to 3rd, and Nolan Smith in the 35 car started 13th up to 9th. And I'm sure we'll catch up with many others throughout the day as well. I can tell you Xavier Sanchez 29th to 14th on the opening lap.
In comparison, just behind him in 16th, Tixier from 3rd down to 16th, unfortunately. And it looks like things may have calmed down a little bit. I think we've got time to look at the replay of that start. I wonder if we could get an above view just so that we can try and sort out what exactly happened here.
Yeah, so starting from 11th place, Plumley comes across the track, and Billy Bob Wright had just got a great start, and he was already there alongside him, and you can see the track quickly gets clogged up, and yeah, good thing this is virtual.
And somehow the 16 removing himself from the track in an almost unusual way. And here's another perspective on it. Yeah, just a wider shot. And so many drivers, they were checking up, trying to do the right thing, but sometimes you just can't tell what's going on in front of you, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, We've had these massive fields all season long. It's part of the appeal, the intrigue of the series is how large these fields are, and most of the time we get away okay with just 3 or 4 cars involved in an incident. I know at the start of the season at the Red Bull Ring we had a pretty big one in the first corner, but that's a Red Bull Ring. I think that's kind of part of that circuit's DNA. But this time, yeah, just not as fortunate. Any drivers who did opt to start from the pits looked like geniuses this time around. So let's see, Ove Trantre and Sebastien Trixier dropped to 15th and 16th after their incident, and I don't see Trixier, but Ove has only made it back up to 14th. So it's they've got a ways to go, but a lot of work to do as well.
Yeah, Trantre just overtook Grissinger this time by, Tixier is just down in 16th behind him, trying to follow him through. Going to be a lot of work to do, and already some slicing and dicing here in the mid-pack. Sanchez trying to attack on Presley, but nothing doing. Can he cut back potentially through the loop? He's going to attempt it, but the wheel spin will scupper those opportunities through Aintree, not quite flat out in these cars, and now it's the long run down the Wellington Straight.
And so this is kind of in the second pack of cars we have going on. There's there's a big pack of cars ahead of these guys too, and in that, Rob Olyanek has just made a move up into 7th place ahead of Miko Mikhail. So right now, Topi Kortanemi obviously is a big win out of all of this. He has 4 seconds over the whole field. Then we've got a train of cars from 2nd back to about 8th, I would say, and then this pack of cars that we've been watching from about 10th on back, like, as well.
And on screen we saw Sanchez manage to overtake Grissinger as we come through the Maggots and Beckett sequence. This is Tyler chasing Olsen in the 8 car for 3rd place, and David Rossi in there as well. Rossi leading the AM championship, the F2 championship. This is going to be a huge haul of points.
Yes, well, it's not over yet, but as things stand right now. So it looks like we've still got 33 cars on the lead lap and in contention after all that, which honestly is more than I would have anticipated given the amount of cars we saw flipping at the start. As we watch this, there's a nice battle going on around 12th place between Ove Trantre and David Presley right now. That they're all coming down to complete the lap, and Ove Trantre's temporarily won that battle. And here we see him coming round the corner, I think in 12th position.
Indeed, Presley now up into 13th, overtaking Sanchez. So Grissinger just continuing to slip back bit by bit, and Tixier has been stuck behind him down towards the village and sending it up the inside in a big way. That is Sanchez attempting to make a pass, and Presley can't hold him back, so moves Xavier up into 13th.
Yeah, well, a lot of the big names we're seeing come through the field, obviously, are drivers who were involved in the Lap 1 calamities and are trying to come back through it. It's a different story for Sanchez, though. He didn't get a qualifying lap in, so this is, I guess, has been his game plan all along, unless, of course, he just ran off during both of his qualifying attempts. And so far, it's working out for him. He's in a bit of a battle now, but he's gone from 29th to 13th, so definitely going in the right direction. Meanwhile, the battle for 6 has really been heating up this lap as well, between Ian Haycox, Rob Olyanek and Miko Mikhail. They're having a bit of a scrap going on, and that might get interesting here as we get to the Hannah Straight.
Rob at one time facing the wrong direction here and has managed to get back into 7th as he chases Haycox. Let's see whether or not he can put one over on the Brit down the Hangar Straight. He's following in the slipstream and looking down to the inside. He's got a small overlap. They hit the binders up and over the little crest, the blind crest in this turn, and he is through. So that's another spot for the number 1 after starting this thing from 4th place. He's really not lost too much in all of this.
Yeah, most of the drivers in our top 10 started there. They're just in a different order than where they started. It's really the middle of the field where things get a bit interesting. But so here we see two different packs of three cars, third, fourth, and fifth. Olsen, Tyler, and Rossi on top of each other. And then Olyanek, Haycox, and Mikel there, 6th, 7th, and 8th, all kind of conglomerating together as one pack. And I wonder if the tyres are just really cold right now, because the track temperature is quite cool, and these tyres, they're not the hardest wearing, softest tyres out there. You know, they normally hold up pretty good over the race distance, so maybe some of these drivers are just struggling to get them up to temperature.
Yeah, I think that might be a little bit of the case with how cloudy it is out there today. Of course, a lot of the British drivers probably used to that. As we come around through Woodcote and onto the old pitch straight at the front of this group. Olsen's starting to pull away a little bit, but it's staying tight behind them. The green car of Ian Haycox makes a little bit of a mistake, and Mikko, the Finn, finds himself with a potential opportunity, but it's not a long enough stretch down to the Maggots-Beckett sequence.
And as we watch all this, now that the timing's been able to update, you can see 29 cars are actually still left in the race. So we have, it looks like 7 or 8 cars that were all taken out in that opening lap incident. Fortunately, it's been kind of clean since then, but we still have a lot of battles and a long way to go. So the drivers have got to stay on their toes if they still want to make it to the end in one piece. Remember, no free repairs.
Back up to the front of it, and Olsen has a gap of about half a second over Bill Tyler. This has got to be an extremely tough track to drive in this car, simply because I noticed there's a lot of acceleration zones where the track is just forcing you to curve and try to put the throttle down. I wouldn't think that'd be all that fun, this car trying to do.
Well, one driver who's definitely not having a fun time right now is Sebastian Tixier. We were talking about some drivers who had bad starts, and obviously Sebastian was one of those. And qualifying third, racing the number 7 car, you would think he'd be making a nice go through the field. But here he is, still mired back in 13th position. I think the lowest he fell was 16th, so not exactly charting his way back up through the midfield here.
Wonder if he's dealing with a little bit of damage. He just overtook Wickstrom there that you see behind him now, and I think that was into Abbey. So got that one done, and I believe Olyanek got by Haycox just recently up into 5th. That, or it was Haycox and Rossi that I was seeing switching positions. There you see the 7 around and through Luffield. Long hairpin right-hander, and taken off for a battle just in front of him. That's Sanchez and Olsen that he sees very tight together.
Yeah, so all different battles going on from about 3rd back to 15th or so here. Like I say, that pack, it's still Olyanek in 6th place ahead of Haycox in 7th. Rossi, Olyanek 5th, Haycox in 6th. Rossi has faded back to 7th. So that's what's been going on in the pack up, a bit ahead of what we're watching right now. But here we come. They're all coming down onto the front straight. So we can tell you, David Rossi is really not had a good lap. He's gone back from 5th to 8th now. As we watch a battle going into Stowe, looks like these two will get through cleanly.
Yep, Sanchez took a look on the inside of Olsen, but was not able to make the pass. Yeah, and Rossi just lost one to Mikko Mekala in the number 12 car. So down to 8th now for David Rossi. Out through club. Olsen dealing with the pressure well, especially with how much... oh, did we lose Rob Olyanek? Something happened to Rob Olyanek, and I'm not sure what. I think Rob Olyanek may have lost his internet connection, because he's dropping down the order, and I don't see a wreck out of him. So we'll keep an eye out to see if he completely loses connections. That will be utter disappointment for the current champion, as Laust Olsen Now overtaken by Sanchez, who managed to get by, and already Tixier has decided to take advantage of the rattled number 10 car and slips up the inside into Brooklands. So that's 2 positions down quite quickly for Laust Olsen.
Yeah, so all these drivers will be getting bumped up a position, of course, with the disappearance of Rob Oljanek. And that's good news for Tixier. Not for Tixier, for Sanchez. Started back in 29th place, and now he's up into the top 10. Confirmation Rob Oljanek has lost the connection there.
He can still rejoin, for those unfamiliar with iRacing, and try to finish the race, but he will be multiple laps down by the time he's back in, no doubt. And look how close this is here on your screen. Tixier now rocking up to the back of Sanchez. We wonder if Sebastian was listening to the broadcast, because suddenly it seems like he has come alive. And in fact, he's going to get that next spot, out accelerating out of Chapel. And Sanchez doesn't defend.
Yes, very late on the brakes there for Laust Olsen, but he's still able to make the corner. And Jari Wikström doing a nice job, kind of just hanging out there. He qualified 14th and he's running 13th right now, but just quietly hanging out. And Robert Plumley, who triggered that opening lap carnage from 11th on the grid, and Wikström started 14th right behind him. So nice job getting around all that.
Sometimes it plays to be safe and patient. Wikström going a little wide there through Abbey, but keeps it on the racing surface, thankfully. Ahead of all this, I know we haven't mentioned him in a while. He hasn't had a whole lot going on, is Topi Kortniemi in the number 3. He put it on pole and is looking to make it back-to-back after that first one. There you see him on screen now.
Yeah, I haven't mentioned him a whole lot because you can see the gap to second place has been 7 seconds ever since the opening lap shenanigans. He was being able to open up a gap, and we're not even halfway through this race yet. I know it says only 9 laps left to go, but remember, this is quite a large circuit, so that's still a lot of racing left. But right now, it looks like Topi's just going to continue to extend that lead. Shouldn't have to worry about a whole lot of lap traffic, given how large a circuit is.
Well, and we've lost a few people along the way, too, as we watch the battle for third on screen, as Bill Tyler is not afraid to get right up to the gearbox, nearly sticking his nose into the rear of John Olsen.
Here they go on the run down the Hannah Straight. You can definitely try and use a slipstream to try and make a move here, and I think that's what he's going to do. A little too late there. It wasn't going to happen this time around, but again, a long time still to go.
Absolutely. So Rossi lost another position as Ove Trangrade's climb back forward gives him 7th place, by the way. In the background, I think you can just catch a glance of him there. And onto the main straight once again for the battle for P3. Olsen doing a fantastic job, having inherited this spot to withstand the pressure of potentially some quicker drivers behind.
Yeah, this is almost kind of reminds me of a race that I would do out of David Rossi here, which might not necessarily be as a compliment, because I'm saying he's kind of just backing out of battles, which is typically what I do in like endurance races and all that. And as a result, you know, he's faded back from what he was up in 5th earlier, and he's down to 8th now. But he has number 19 on his car, and you know, if he felt uncomfortable up there towards the front, especially in a car this tricky to drive, this is probably a good call by him. You know, knowing that this is a long race, there might still be some drama in front of him, and if he plays it safe, he should still be able to come out here with a solid top 10.
Well, and the other thing is if he's watching that F2 championship, the next driver down to challenge him for that, or for points in that race, is Nolan Smith, but he's still 3.5 seconds back there in 9th place. And Nolan is not really in a fight with him in the championship as it stands, just because I don't think he's scored any points yet this season. I'll double check that. So yeah, David Rossi's still well in the clear. If he's not worried about overall results, then he can continue to bleed spots, really.
So we had a lot of battles going on from about 5th to 15th a little while ago. Things have broken up a little bit, but this is one of the, well, as I say that, the battle for 3rd place kind of bruised a little bit. But 5th place is really the one I think that's closest to anything happening right now, with Ian Haycox and Miko Mikhaila not too far behind him.
I think Ove is going to join this too. Let's see. Let me look at his pace. 2:02.7 with a 2:02.6 the lap before. Oh yeah, he's about a second a lap faster than those two in front of him. He's about to join the party.
Yeah, maybe that's why these two are being a bit cautious right now. They know the more they battle, the quicker Ove is going to catch them.
So down into Village one more time between the pair of them. Yeah, I expect Ove Trangrade to suddenly become a factor. I'm not sure they're going to be able to do much to hold him back, but never say never's. Great exit off the corner there for Miko. And, oh, it just slides out a little bit. He gets the slipstream, but Haycox is pulling away. And down into the braking for Brooklyn's no poke from Miko.
They continue to follow each other through these corners. We can tell you that Rob Olyanek has rejoined the session and already gotten back out on track, but he's 2 laps down in 28th position.
Yeah, his next car up is Back Row Bob in 27th, and that's about actually almost a full lap in front of him. So even though he's faster than Robert Reynolds, I don't think in 7 laps he's going to completely come back around and be able to get by. But you can't give up as we watch this trio snake their way through the Magnussen-Beckett sequence. And look at Trangrade. He is now much closer to the gearbox of Miko Mikhaila. And he could have a good shot if he gets the exit out of Chapel. It's looking good here. He's sizing him up, but Miko's going to defend.
Yeah, you could see the battle for 3rd at the front of your screen too, but they stay in order.
Trangrade through. Nice easy pass for the number 5 that time. Now it's Ian Haycox next on his list. That'll put him into the top 5. Oh, and do we have a pass for 3rd?
Yeah, well, maybe. Yep, there we go. So Bill Tyler wasn't able to make it happen down the Hannah Straight, but he was able to do it through Club.
Really caught him napping as he sent it to the inside into the chicane, and Olsen now falls to 4th. Still a net gain for him.
And Tixier just took 9th place, so we got a couple of different passes going on right now. He just pulled off a pass at a similar part of a circuit to get ahead of Nolan Smith.
That's good news for David Rossi. That's put some space between himself and one of the other F2 drivers out here today. Side by side, though, on your screen, and that is Ian Haycox trying to put up a little bit more stout defense on Trangrade. He's slow out of Aintree. Does Miko think about trying to attack him? No, he does not. Instead, it's Trangrade who's still looking up the inside into Brooklyn's nothing doing yet.
Well, again, 6 laps still left to go. There's quite a lot of racing here, but the intensity is picking up a little bit as these drivers are looking for opportunities. And maybe, you know, even though these positions, 5th through 7th, could very easily change on the final lap, you might want to be the guy at the head of this pack if you think you're faster, because then maybe you can try and working on running John Olsen down, because he is not too far ahead of this pack. In fact, has John made a mistake or something? Because he does look a lot closer.
I'm going to double check here and see if he had any sort of major error. And I'm not seeing anything. I think he had a little bit of an off in Aintree, but other than that, I think this is just a case of now that Bill Tyler's gotten by, he's suddenly discovering everybody around him has a bit better pace. So Ian Haycox and Ove Trangrade, as they squabble, will they see that they're catching, and maybe it's worth putting a pause on that so that they can snatch up the spot from Olsen.
And it's not just Olsen, honestly. Bill Tyler isn't too far ahead. So Bill Tyler comes across the line. He's been running 2:03s. That was his time last time around as well. and this pack is running 204. So Bill Tyler does pull away a little bit, but all it would take is a mistake from Bill Tyler, and this battle for third all the way back to seventh could be back on. 5 laps to go.
Yeah, Olsen was a 204.8 that time, unfortunately, so just a little off his regular pace.
Oh, and Rob Olyanek has spun. That's something you see rarely. I mean, I know he's not been having a good race to start with, but he's taken a toe to the pits. That's why you're seeing scenic shots right now, and he has officially retired.
This is going to be a week that he'll want to forget, unfortunately. Topi Kortaniemi getting ready to take another win pretty soon if he can keep this pace up and keep it all together. It's the battle for third, fourth, fifth, sixth, and seventh that we've been really keeping an eye on lately. On to the old pit straight once again. Brave look to the inside from Ove Trangerade. Can he get the job done? Try to accelerate off of Kopp's corner. They made it through there side by side. Haycox is going to have the inside on the entry into Maggots Beckett's, but he's not quite brave enough, and Trangerade gets it done.
Amazing to think of technology on these cars that they can run through Kopp's corner side by side. Imagine what they can do in 2021. Oh, wait a minute. Here we go, down, back onto the Hannah Straight with Trantere ahead of Haycox and McKaylee. The train is going to be working all together here, but it looks like they're spread out enough that they'll hold in single file this time around.
Yeah, behind it all, I'm impressed with Miko really giving chase on that one. I can report that Nolan Sanchez, you can see in the background, a little bit of a fight with, or Xavier Sanchez with Nolan Smith, excuse me, made a little bit of combination driver there. And actually that is going to swap positions, maybe. No, Sanchez still not gutsy enough to be able to overtake the 35.
Yeah, you got to start to wonder here, why does Nolan Smith have number 35 on these cars? You say, is this the first time you've seen him out here, Joe? Is he a new name to iRacing? Because it definitely seems he has the talent to have a number higher than the 35.
You know, I'm not entirely sure. I feel like I've seen his name before, but it may have been a while. Yeah, his I rating is still at 11K. Or 1.1K rather, not 11K.
I'm going to say, yeah.
Sanchez is having a rough time with it. Yeah, I think this is going to be a massive I rating haul for the 35 for sure. He's doing a brilliant job. He's not given an easy time to Sanchez, who himself is no slouch at a 4,000 I rating.
Yeah, and this is normally, if I was in Xavier Sanchez's position, I'd be thinking, oh, this guy, because this happens on iRacing, I think. I'm sure I'm not the only person who does this. You're up behind a car that has a number 30 or something on it. You're like, I don't need to fight them too hard. I just need to follow them. They'll make a stupid mistake eventually. Nolan hasn't done that.
He's lost a position here and there that we've seen. Tixier got by him, but Sanchez is been having a hell of a time, and he's only got 4 laps to go, which means Nolan has all the more impetus to fight as hard as he can to get a top 10 here today.
Yeah, we're running out of laps. Now, the nice news, obviously, for Nolan, if he does lose this position and loses that top 10, is he's got a nice little gap before his next challenger. But as you say, I think he intends to hold on to this top 10.
He fights once again into Stowe, but Sanchez gets a good exit, and he doesn't cover the inside, leaves it open. Last time that worked out for Nolan, and this time can he once again repeat the feat? No, a cutback from Sanchez, looking underneath and chopped off at the final apex of Club. This is a brilliant bit of defense from Smith.
Yeah, and entering the last 3 laps, so still got quite a lot of time to hold this off. By the way, you might have heard the pit siren going off as these cars went around. That was Tom Doy, a lapped car, I think it was, coming into the pits for a drive-through just to get out of the way of the leaders.
Continuing to go wheel to wheel, Nolan Smith has earned his stripes today. However this winds up, I am utterly gobsmacked at what we're seeing from this 35 machine. Sanchez gets another shot at it. If he can send it in deep, down into the left-hander of Brooklands, and still nothing doing. A little slide, though, from Nolan Smith. Are we finally seeing cracks out of him?
I just hope he doesn't throw it all away. Maybe, maybe he's here and he's not concerned about points or finishing. Maybe this is a top 10 or nothing kind of drive from him. So far, he's doing a heck of a job to hold on to it. By the way, while all this has been going on, Ove Trantre has taken 4th place from John Olsen.
And now he's trying to chase down Tyler. So Ove actually has a podium potentially on his hands, but we'll get to that if that starts to get closer. In the meantime, this is really where the action is in our front runners. And is he sizing him up? Sanchez looks like he tries to square off Maggots and into Chapel. That gives him a much better run, but he's once again going to be forced around the outside.
Let's see if he can try and pull it off, because obviously if he holds it around here on the outside, and it does have Smith clear, and that might be, well, let's see if Nolan tries to fight back here, because again, Club is another potential passing opportunity, and this time Zabi is ahead. But it does not necessarily mean it's over. As they come across the line, they'll be at 2 laps left to go, and if Nolan Smith is able to stick with him, he'll be able to use the slipstream down the hand straight next time and see if he can make a move.
And Nolan made a real workout out of that, just had him muscle his way by. So down to 11th, and the long way around. Sanchez eventually getting it done through Stowe. We are 2 laps to go now, and just behind them, even more fun. This time it is Wickstrom and Olsen.
Yeah, Olsen has moved up through the field. He started 19th and is up to 12th. Wickstrom quite close to where he is. We would give a shout out to the biggest mover, but we've already done that a few times today. It is Zabier Sanchez. I guess we could give a shout out to Robin Brumer too, 31st to 16th.
Indeed. Neither Sanchez or Brumer qualified as well. So if Bill Zahn is watching, I'm sure he'll be shouting at his screen that they're not legitimate hard chargers. And now we have the battle for third starting to come alive. Bill Tyler has mirrors full of Ove Trangrade. He's got to keep this up for just a lap and a half, and he'll be rewarded with a podium. Is Ove Trangrade willing to let him have that, though?
We'll find out. Obviously, you get a nice run down the straight here. This is kind of too late to make anything happen, but the nice thing about Silverstone, it's not always been my favorite track, but one thing I do like about it is if you don't make a move into Stowe, you can always just set up for a passing Club. That's not happening this time by either. One more time as they come to start the final lap.
So not many more chances for the Norwegian. This is all taking place almost 20 seconds behind Topi Korteniemi. And a little look to the inside, coming down into Abbey. Can he get this done? Side by side through the quick right-hander. It switches back left and really carrying the speed. Ove Trangrade gets his car well ahead, but he's shallow into the corner. Bill Tyler tries to fight back. He'll take it all the way into the loop now. And he still has his nose fully alongside up through Aintree. It's a drag race, but it looks like the long way through the corner cuts too much into Ove Trangrade onto the Wellington straight. He tries to come back at him. Breaks deep into Brooklands. Still can't
Oh, and
get in
John
there.
Olsen gets turned behind them. John Olsen has been turned around.
Oh, no. Ian Haycock's trying to come back on the track after he got unsettled by that, and Mikko Mikkola finds himself with a potential spot, but he can't get there in time. It's all going crazy here on the final lap.
Yeah, well, what happened is John Olsen saw the opportunity to get involved with the battle ahead. He got too much wheel spin out of a previous turn, and Ian Haycock's tried to take advantage by making a move down at the Wellington straight and got into the back of Olsen. So that's all that happened there. And all that means, of course, is that Ove Trantre and Bill Tyler are unchallenged right now for third and fourth. Now, we need to keep an eye on Topi because he's so far ahead. He's actually coming to finish and win the race right now, but we're also watching this battle for third. One more time down the hand straight.
And now we got to go to Topi Korteniemi as he comes out of club. Victory for the number 3 for the second race of the row will extend his points lead. Hovdal looks like he's going to get a clear second as Bill Tyler has been able to hold off Trangrade, who's off course.
And I think he's blown the engine. He got on the grass on the entry. My guess is he's using the stick shift, full clutch and everything. He was probably caught all out of sorts when that happened.
But look at this. Look at this. This is Haycox and Makela trying to fight for the spot. And here comes the likes of Tixier suddenly getting in it, but he can't get the spot. Haycox gets fourth, Makela fifth, and Tixier sixth.
And Olsen comes across the line ahead of Rossi, ahead of Sanchez and Smith. Does get his top 10 after all, after Ove Trangere. I don't know if we can get an onboard of him going into Hannah, but I think, sorry, going into Stowe down the Hannah Straight. But I think what happened is he got on the grass under braking. That probably threw him out of rhythm and everything. And I'm guessing he just got his shifting wrong.
That is extremely disappointing after what a performance he put in to try and get back up through the field. But Courtniemi is celebrating with a victory lap here today after taking another win. And that is going to take us to a break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Silverstone. Round 4 here in the Grand Prix Legends Series is one to remember. Maybe not for some of the drivers because of the start, but for Topi Courtniemi, it gave him a clear run as the incident behind him definitely gave him the buffer that he needed to not have to be concerned, says Matthias Hovdahl was a full 11 seconds back for second place as Bill Tyler went from 7th to 3rd, getting himself a podium and withstanding a lot of pressure. Ian Haycox up from 10th to 4th here today was followed by Mikko Makela, who challenged him at the very end. He still got a top 5, and Sebastian Tixier could only come back to 6th after starting from 3rd, getting all caught up in some of those early issues. John Olsen was 7th as David Rossi in the F2 Championship has finished 8th, which, by the way, that was where he started this race. So we made a big deal out of him, but he actually had the overall pace out there, I'd say. Sanchez was 9th after not qualifying and starting from 29th, and Nolan Smith taking the number 35 car to 10th out there today.
And doing it on Meritor Raceland as well. You asked a little while ago, Joe, who the biggest mover was who qualified. Well, it was Lars Stolsen, qualified 19th, up 8 positions into 11th. Behind him was Jari Wistrom, who started 14th, only made up 2 spots into 12th after getting around that opening lap carnage. David Presley finishes 13th place ahead of Michael Grissinger in 14th, and Robin Brumer, another big mover, 31st up to 15th. Likewise, Colin Bentley, 30th to 16th. Andrew Weng comes home in 17th place, one of your top F2 drivers in championship there too. Don Good did well and finishes in 18th ahead of Michael Miller and Tom Holland.
Harry Weir was 21st after starting from 35th. Sandro Scary in 22nd, the last driver on the lead lap, and poor Ove Trangere blew his engine in the last few corners. He did not touch the grass, we found out, so he basically just downshifted wrong in the last moments, maybe caught up in all the excitement and finished 23rd. Andre Juteau was 24th as Tom Doy finished P25, 1 lap down, with Robert Reynolds 2 laps down in 26. Then it was Billy Bob Wright who got back on the track, tried to finish this race, and was 27th. Hideki Koivisto 28th, and O'Malley DNF'd in 29th. From there on down, unfortunately, it is about 8 or 9 cars that were DNFs here today. So they will have to settle for some poor points and a little bit of a hit on their I rating. But we do have our winner here today, Topi Kortaniemi, who may have been a little bit blind to all that's been going on around him as he continued to lead, and there was chaos in his mirrors. So let's talk to the number 3. And Topi, I have to ask, how aware were you of the craziness going on behind what looked like a calm race for you?
I don't know. I just went through the first section, the village and the loop, and just saw Hardal in the relative screen, and I wondered if Uwe and Rob had spun or something happened like last time. But then I just got into the rhythm and tried not to do anything silly.
First 2 rounds, you missed out on victories. Then finally, you got one last round at Detroit. Now you've hit back-to-back. Does this feel like you're on a roll?
I think, yeah, I'm starting to learn to set up the car to be fast, and it's actually really fun to drive now. I have to say that the guys at the iRacing, they have done a great job with the car. It's so much fun. And, at the practice session this week, I just keep practicing, and I didn't notice how many laps I've turned, and I just ran out of fuel without noticing it.
Well, that's a great testament to the car, and I'm glad to hear. I really need to get out. I haven't had a chance to try it since the update, and I'm eager as a big fan of this machine. It's been a strange season in the championship because last season's champion, Olenek, seems to have the worst luck so far. That's good news for you because your points lead is extended over your main rivals. Do you think that a championship is realistic?
I think it's realistic, but you have to remember that Rob has just had a bad streak of luck, and I think next week or the week after the drop weeks come in effect, and we're going to see the real situation in the championship.
That's a good point. That'll help some of those that have experienced that. Congratulations on another win, Topi. Anybody you want to give a thank you to?
Anybody who was watching you guys and the Lotus 49 community, there's so many new guys around. It's great to see.
Great stuff there from the number 3 as we now head off into our second place finisher, Matthias Hovdal. Sam has caught up with him.
Yeah, Matthias, likewise a bit of a quiet race for you after the opening few laps. I'm assuming you're quite happy with the second place finish here.
Yeah, I couldn't believe my eyes on the first lap there. When the 3 out of the 4 cars ahead of me just spun off or got collected. So I was a bit lucky with that, and then it was pretty, as you said, uneventful after that. But yeah, I'm very happy to be on the podium. That definitely wasn't expected.
Well, you say a bit lucky, but likewise, you had to avoid any spins yourself. How tricky was it out there, especially on the opening laps when the tyres were cold and the track temperature was cold?
Yeah, the first lap's kind of scary, and then after that, I think it stabilizes and feels pretty nice until the last few laps maybe, when you're low on fuel and the rear tires are getting a bit more worn.
Well, you were still able to hold on 11 seconds behind Topi at the line, but 13 seconds ahead of everyone else. I know it's early in the season, but what are your thoughts going forward, after a solid result like this and VIR next week?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't done all the races so far, so I'm not really thinking about the championship. I'm just dropping in for the occasional race when I have the time. But VIR is definitely a cool track, so I might have to give that a go if I can find the time.
How would you rate Silverstone as a circuit for these cars? I know it normally, when the Lotus 49 races here, we use like the historic configuration and all that. Did this modern Grand Prix layout, was it frustrating or was it fun?
Well, I think it's a bit slow and technical in places. I think I enjoy the 2011 historic version a little bit more, but yeah, it's not a bad track.
Definitely it helped give you a good result today. Anyone you'd like to thank before we let you go and celebrate?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Topi for posting a setup. That lowers the barrier of entry a bit to these series where the setups aren't as readily available. And I don't know what I'm doing with this car, so it's nice to have a baseline like that to use.
Well, I'm sure he'll appreciate that. Congrats on your second once again, and we look forward to maybe seeing you a step higher up by the end of the season.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I believe that will round out our interviews here today and help us close up for round 4. And we, of course, want to thank the Grand Prix Legends community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. Also, a thank you goes out to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more great work. And thanks to the team today, Sam, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the screen. Check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a moment. The next race is going to be at Virginia International Raceway. That is another tough one for this car. That'll be October 16th at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out. Mark them down on your calendar, including, in a couple hours, the Camel GT Series goes to Long Beach at 1 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss that because it's going to be nuts. Up until next time, though, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.